With their first 3 picks of the 2020 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers added an undersized tight end most known for a defensive play, a plodding running back who already has plenty of miles on him and isn't a factor in the passing game, and what they hope is their quarterback of the future. So, it would be easy to understand if Aaron Rodgers had a mountain of frustration building up.
Might it build up enough to bring him back to the Bay Area?
Maybe Josiah Deguara, A.J. Dillon and Jordan Love all turn out to be studs. The odds are against it, but hey, it could happen. The problem for the Packers, and Rodgers, is that none of those prospects are expected to be major contributors anytime soon. Love likely will sit on the sidelines for at least one season. Even if Dillon proves to be a standout rookie, that means taking touches away from the dynamic Aaron Jones. And in what is arguably the best pass catcher draft of all time, Deguara isn't exactly a super exciting haul.
Lest we forget, the Packers weren't that far off last season. They made it to the NFC Championship game, where they were ultimately exposed by the 49ers. San Francisco had its way against Green Bay on the ground, rushing for 285 yards on 42 carries. Meanwhile, Packers receiver Davante Adams was their only legitimate threat on the outside, and while he had a productive game, they simply didn't have enough offensive firepower to keep up with the Niners.
Guess what? None of Green Bay's first 3 selections in the draft are going to help in either of those areas, at least not anytime soon. If the Packers fail to find some diamonds in the rough on day 3 on Saturday, it would not be surprising whatsoever to see Green Bay take a step back next season. And if that occurs, one imagines Rodgers won't be pleased with the lack of support he received.
It is highly unlikely to occur, but there is a world in which the Packers and Rodgers part ways next offseason. He is entering the 3rd year of the lucrative 4-year contract extension he signed in 2018 and is due a $6.8 million roster bonus on March 19, 2021. If the situation between Rodgers and Green Bay proves untenable by that date, the Packers could get out of his contract at that point, albeit while incurring a huge $31.5 million hit in dead money. Yes, that's an enormous number, but Love's cap hit would only be $2.8 million, so in theory, they would be able to afford it.
49ers Insider Podcast. Listen to the latest episode.
Of course, if the Packers wanted to avoid the dead money route, they could always trade Rodgers. If he has reached the end of his line in Green Bay, why wouldn't they look to recoup some assets for him?
And in either case, if Rodgers needs to find a new home, could that be with the 49ers?
Let me be clear, I am not advocating for San Francisco to replace Jimmy Garoppolo with Rodgers. But if the 49ers considered doing that with a 42-year-old Tom Brady this offseason as reported, why wouldn't they kick the tires on Rodgers, who is both considerably younger and better than Brady at this stage?
We know Rodgers, just like Brady, grew up a 49ers fan. We know San Francisco made the wrong choice in selecting Alex Smith, instead of Rodgers, with the number 1 overall pick of the 2005 NFL Draft. We know Rodgers, unlike Brady, can still lead a productive offense. We also know he's capable of winning a Super Bowl.
Garoppolo came about as close to doing that as one can without accomplishing the feat. It wasn't his fault that the 49ers suffered a fourth-quarter collapse against the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 54, but he had a few missed opportunities that proved costly. San Francisco projects to be one of the powers in the NFC again in 2020, and there is every reason to believe that Jimmy G will continue to improve with another season of Coach Kyle Shanahan's tutelage.
But
if the 49ers fail to get back to the Super Bowl next season, and win, Garoppolo's seat is likely to get plenty hot. San Francisco can move on from Jimmy G next offseason relatively unscathed with very little in terms of dead money. Of course, the 49ers would only do that if they were sure they could upgrade the position.
Related, 49ers package deal for Brady, Gronk would have been costly.
Is Rodgers an upgrade over Garoppolo another year from now? That's a difficult question to answer, but could be one Shanahan and John Lynch entertain.
They apparently already did that with Brady, and Rodgers would make a lot more sense than him.
Brandon Ayuk is drawing comparisons to a lot of different NFL receivers.
The 49ers' first-round pick told the media that he models his game after Cleveland Browns star Odell Beckham Jr.
Some see 49ers receiver Deebo Samuel in Aiyuk.
For NBC Sports Bay Area analyst Dante Whitner, he likens Aiyuk to a former two-time Pro Bowl receiver for the Seattle Seahawks.
Brandon Aiyuk is a dangerous run-after-the-catch guy, Whitner said. He's a guy that will fit right into Kyle Shanahan's system, along with the wide receiver screens, the run-pass options, and just getting this guy in space. He comes alive with the ball in his hands, that's his number one attribute. He has the space and the burst to hit the open spots, get in and out of routes. He sort of reminds me of Doug Baldwin, receiver that played for the Seattle Seahawks.
Aiyuk has all the ability in the world. Big play threat, averaged 18 yards per catch last year in college. He has the toughness of Deebo Samuel. He could be trained at X, split end, wide flanker or even the slot. He's a phenomenal fit in this offense because his strength is what the 49ers like to do. Get the ball into their playmakers' hands and let them make plays.
49ers Insider Podcast, listen to the latest episode.
When speaking to the media Thursday, 49ers coach Kyle Shanahan said he loved Aiyuk and had him as the number one wide receiver on his board.
While the consensus is that Aiyuk is exactly what Shanahan wants in a receiver, Whitner believes the Arizona State product has some things to work on.
Some of his weaknesses are, he's not a great route runner, Whitner said. He's going to need to work on those things, get with the wide receivers coach, understand the nuances of route running. He lacks the elite top speed. He ran a 4.50 in the 40-yard dash at the combine, but he also had a 40-inch vertical, which tells me he has some explosiveness, and when you turn his film on, he's not playing at a 4.50. He's playing at a 4.30.
Some guys are track guys that play football, and you have some guys that are football players that run track. He's just an all-around raw talent that needs some development, but he's a hard worker. Everybody from Arizona State loves this guy. He's a high-character guy and he will immediately fit into the 49ers scheme and be making big plays on Sunday.
Related fans give Kinlaw, Aiyuk an A.
OBJ, Deebo, Baldwin, Aiyuk is drawing some lofty comparisons. Now it's time to put in the work to reach the high bar set by the analysts.
The wait continues for the 49ers.
General Manager John Lynch and Coach Kyle Shanahan got no TV time in their home offices on Friday as the NFL buzzed through the second and third rounds of the draft.
The 49ers are not scheduled to leap into action until the 50th pick of Saturday, either.
With scheduled selections in the 5th, number 156, 6th, number 210, and 7th, number 217 rounds, the 49ers do not have too many options. It could come down to such basic decisions as finding a player who could possibly provide immediate help or someone whose upside is to stick around and develop for the future.
If the 49ers select an offensive lineman, he would probably be a developmental player. The 49ers could still get a tight end who could make the team and serve as a complement to George Kittle. If the club goes with a linebacker or defensive back, the player's best route to making the team and contributing would be on special teams.
Here are some players who could be a match for the 49ers on day 3.
Reggie Robinson, 6'1", 205 pounds, looks the part, and he brings physicality and a knack for making plays with him. Robinson fits best in a zone scheme, which the 49ers regularly feature.
And he could develop his skills while learning the intricacies of the NFL game from Richard Sherman, who knows the scheme better than some of the coaches.
Even if Robinson is not ready to step in as an immediate starter, he figures to be a core special teams player from the beginning of his NFL career with his size, aggressiveness and 4.44 speed in the 40-yard dash.
Related, 49ers reportedly interest in Williams.
The 49ers have shown interest in Hunter Bryant, 6'2", 248. He is a very good pass catcher with the movement skills to get down the middle of the field.
He caught 52 passes for 825 yards last season. And his athleticism would enable him to execute the zone blocking assignments in the 49ers' run game.
The 49ers have been looking at tight ends throughout the offseason. Veteran blocking specialist Levine Toilolo signed with the New York Giants as a free agent. Kittle, Ross Dwelley and Daniel Helm are the only three tight ends on the roster.
Thaddeus Moss, 6'2", 250, could also be available in the 5th or 6th rounds. He is the son of Pro Football Hall of Famer Randy Moss.
The 49ers are likely to add a defensive back at some point, and Harper is a reasonable choice. At 6'2", 196, Harper would get his first look with the 49ers at cornerback. But his best position could prove to be at safety. The 49ers would take either at this point.
Harper could stick around late into this draft because of his baggage. He was kicked off the team at Oklahoma State and ended up going to Southern Illinois, where he matured into one of the team leaders.
Listen and subscribe to the 49ers Insider Podcast.
Any backup offensive lineman has to be able to play multiple positions. Darrell Williams is a 6th or 7th round pick who has experience at left guard and center in college. He was a team captain as a senior.
He is tough and physical. But why he would fit with the 49ers is because of his football intelligence and athleticism to execute the team's elaborate blocking schemes.
The 49ers group of linebackers is pretty solid with Fred Warner, Quan Alexander, Dre Greenlaw, Joe Walker, Azeez Al-Shaair and Mark Nziocha.
Sean Bradley, 6'1", 235, has caught the 49ers' attention, and could be a late-round target.
He showed his athleticism at the Combine with a time of 4.51 seconds in the 40-yard dash. That speed alone shows that he could be a core special teams player and someone who could make a contribution as a rookie.
Related, where Kinlaw could struggle.
The 49ers invested the number 14 overall pick in defensive tackle Javon Kinlaw, but that does not mean they could not get another defensive lineman if the board falls that way. Roach played linebacker earlier in his college career before moving to the defensive line.
At 6'2", 297, Roach has the versatility to play a lot of different spots, but on base downs and in nickel situations. For a young defensive lineman looking to win a roster spot, that versatility could be key.